Year 12 Diagnostics, Tom Bignell. The interplay of energy systems consists of all three energy systems contributing at once, where the dominant energy system is determined by the intensity and duration of an activity. Adenosine triphosphate is a chemical compound responsible for storing and transferring energy within the body. ATP's chemical structure consists of one adenosine and three phosphate molecules bonded together by phosphohydride bonds. Immediate energy is produced when the breakdown of ATP is used for the skill movement, where the last phosphate molecule breaks away, causing the high energy bond to release energy through an initial muscular contraction, forming adenosine diphosphate, composed of one adenosine and two phosphate molecules and one free phosphate molecule. ATP stores are extremely limited, only providing energy for 2 seconds of maximal activity before stores are depleted. After phosphate, creatine stores are depleted after 6 seconds. The body switches to the lactic acid system as its main energy source, where glycogen stores help resynthesize ATP from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. The aerobic system is then predominantly resynthesizing ATP after the 2-minute mark of continuous exercise, lasting for 1 to 2 hours of continuous exercise before depletion of glycogen stores. Within touch football, the role of the middle is to ruck the ball up the field, gaining field position. Peter Norman, prior to the initial tap, is working aerobically, with there being significant oxygen for the oxygen demand of the activity, where all three systems are working in conjunction as seen on the graph. 90% aerobic, lactic acid 5%, ATP 5%. Instantly from the tap, Norman switches to anaerobic pathways, causing an increase in the oxygen requirement, leading to an oxygen deficit phase, a period when the aerobic system is desperately trying to catch up to the oxygen demand of the body, where Norman is predominantly using the ATP-CP system, providing 90% of the overall ATP resynthesis, with both lactic acid and aerobic systems contributing 5% each. PC utilization enables Norman to work at a maximal intensity from the defensive line under the ATP-CP system, attacking the offensive middle for a defensive touch within the first 2 seconds of the game. As the phase play continues to line defense, Norman has made multiple maximal intensity defensive efforts, causing phosphate creatine stores to become depleted after 10 seconds, as there is not a significant enough recovery period to resynthesize PC. The body still has the ability to work at high intensity after phosphate creatine stores are depleted, as seen when Norman has had to make repeated maximal intensity efforts, gaining 3 defensive touches within the first 20 seconds of the game. Norman continues working under anaerobic pathways due to the lactic acid system being the predominant energy system, providing 65% of the energy required to resynthesize ATP, with anaerobic working 30% and the remaining 5% being ATP-PC. The lactic acid system begins to prohibit the body from working at a maximal intensity, with lactic acid beginning to accumulate. Through repeated high-intensity efforts, Norman gained 2 passes and a roll ball, which led to an assist after the 60-second mark, where the lactic acid and aerobic systems are predominant to resynthesize ATP, as seen on the 60-second contribution graph. 45% lactic acid and aerobic and 10% ATP-PC. While under anaerobic pathways, Norman is able to switch between the energy systems depending on the required intensity of the activity, which is seen when Norman switches from the lactic acid system to the ATP-CP system, making a singular maximal effort cut-out pass to the try line to score. In another example, Norman exceeds his lactate threshold as he has to defend a fast oncoming offense, trying to defend a set of 6 touches, constantly working under the lactic acid system. Norman uses the lactic acid system to drive the ball forward towards the sub-bench to rotate and enter the epoch phase of recovery, where the aerobic system is predominant for the recovery. Through the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption epoch recovery phase, lactacid and lactacid work simultaneously. The lactacid component restores ATP and CP stores by 50% in 30 seconds and 100% in 3 minutes, with Norman's average recovery time being 2 minutes 46 seconds, allowing for roughly 90% recovery. Lactacid works at a slower speed, removing a percentage of lactic acid accumulation from the muscles, as 15 minutes allows for 50% removal. It can also slightly replenish glycogen. Through Norman's rotations, he works at a 1 to 2 work-to-rest ratio, where Norman spends an average of 2 minutes and 46 seconds on the bench recovering under epoch, allowing ATP and CP stores to resynthesize, and an average of 1 minute 13 seconds on the field with 5 rotations in the first half. The work-to-rest ratio of a middle is achieved due to there being 6 players for the middle position, allowing for quick rotations. Matt Prowse plays the wing position for Australia in the 2015 Touch Football World Cup. The winger stays wide, creating space, allowing the middles and links to set up line attacks. At the initial tap, there is a slight increase in exercise intensity, with Prowse working anaerobically as the oxygen demand slightly increases, meaning that the oxygen deficit is much smaller than the middle, returning to the aerobic pathways quicker due to the submaximal effort required. Prowse is able to walk with the line attack actively recovering, where the aerobic system is providing 90% and the ATP-CP system and lactic acid systems are providing 5% each. Prowse is able to switch to anaerobic pathways and the ATP-PC system to help the middles and links score out wide when he is needed. Prowse only switches to anaerobic pathways for a short time as the intensity is maximal and the duration of the effort is minimal. Prowse is seen working at a relatively low intensity until action is needed for the limited maximal intensity effort out in the wing, making a 60-metre maximal effort drive under the ATP-CP system to score a try. Prowse is able to do this as his ATP and CP stores constantly replenish under the aerobic system and active recovery. On the rare occasion where Prowse is called upon to assist to ruck the ball up the field due to their short-handed or the middles rotating off, Prowse's lactic acid system would be predominant as he is required to make a repeated maximal intensity effort as seen gaining 2 passes and a roll ball. The substitution data suggests that the 2-to-1 work-to-rest ratio was upheld, with there being 3 players devoted to the wing position, allowing Prowse to stay on the field for a longer time and resting for less time than the middle due to active recovery and the prolonged sub and maximal nature of the position, with Prowse only gaining 1 defensive touch compared to 17 for Norman in the middle position, as Prowse is less involved in the game. The work-to-rest ratio was seen with Prowse's total rest time for the first half being 7 minutes and 20 seconds compared to Norman in the middle position resting for 13 minutes and 53 seconds. Prowse as the winger makes less rotations than the middle, but the average time recovering in each rotation is similar, with Prowse averaging 2 minutes and 33 seconds and Norman averaging 2 minutes and 46 seconds in the first half. Prowse as the winger rarely entering the lactic acid system, not accumulating much or any lactic acid at all, and lactic threshold is not reached. After conducting the analysis of the professional middle and wing positions as Year 12's 3 games were played, 2 in the middle and 1 as a wing. There were 2 squads, 9 vs 10 players with 3 wings and 6 middles/links, challenging the 2-to-1 work-to-rest ratio for the wing and 1-to-2 work-to-rest ratio for the middle. From analysis, the interplay of energy systems was similar, with the heart rate data suggesting that as a wing I worked at a significantly lower intensity, averaging 119 beats per minute and 131 compared to 147 and 159 beats per minute as the middle, showing that more rotations were required while I played the middle position to allow epoch to occur, where I made 7 rotations compared to 6 rotations per game as a wing, as when I played the wing position I was able to actively recover. There were only 3 players on the bench, 1 wing and 2 middles, which affected the rotations, and the optimal work-to-rest ratios were then not achieved. Through the middle position I constantly made high-intensity repeated efforts under the ATP-CP system, which quickly caused fatigue, leading to my body working predominantly under the lactic acid system due to there being limited rotations off the field. The prolonged time on the field made it quickly caused lactic acid accumulation, and the work-to-rest ratio roughly being 2-to-1 instead of 1-to-2, where I spent 23 minutes and 46 seconds on the field compared to Norman playing 12 minutes and 27 seconds. As a wing player, active recovery allowed for the aerobic system to be predominant, limiting the time spent under the lactic acid and ATP-CP systems until I was called upon to switch the ATP-PC system to work maximally to make a 30-metre high-intensity effort to score a try. Within the third game, due to there being 1 substitute for the 4 middle/link positions, I stayed on the field for 18 minutes and 2 seconds. This caused fatigue to set in very early and lactic acid accumulation increased, while I predominantly worked under the lactic acid system, causing the rate of error. While playing the wing position, my role was to stay out wide. This led to fewer possessions compared to the middle, where I gained 22 passes, 15 roll balls, 9 defensive touches as a middle, compared to 4 passes, 6 roll balls and 5 defensive touches as a winger, concluding that the middle position was more effective at gaining field position. The heart rate data concluded that while working in the wing position, both the average and maximum heart rate was significantly lower than when playing the middle.